We have a very exciting episode, as I'm obligated to say. I make myself say that every episode. We're going to be talking about impulsive decision making and a couple of mental health conditions, so we can tie it all in, for you. So we have a great show tonight. I can't wait to get into it, but we got to get started with our location. So my name is Dr. Kojo. I'm hosting live from Los Angeles, California, and I would love to know where you all are checking in from tonight. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. All right. Let everybody come on in and then we can get started. Let's get started. All right. Get my phone. Get everything I need. Let's go. We got Richmond, Virginia in the house. What's up, Richmond? RVA. I spent some time out there in the Hampton Roads area. So much love to my Richmond people. Syracuse, New York, British Columbia, Florida. Shout out to my Florida people. Mississippi, BPD in St. Louis. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about that. All right. Montgomery, Alabama. Someone says video. I feel like I made this video before. Difference between bipolar 1 and 2, Danielle. But if people are still asking, then maybe I have to make that video and make it funnier, or I could do this video better, right? Alberta, Canada in the house. Okay, Lumberton, New Jersey in the house. First time catching you live, Ali. I hope you enjoy this one. Rhode Island in the house. Pennsylvania in the house. Alabama in the house. El Paso, Texas in the house. Buffalo, New York in the house. New Mexico in the house. Richmond. All right, let's get into it. We have people from all over. Williamsburg. Rebecca, shout out. I was in Williamsburg for a year and a half. Those are 16 months out of my life that really helped me grow as an individual. But tonight we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, right? We're going to be talking about impulsive decisions, right? Let me turn this off so that way we don't have this thing go off, right? But we're talking about ADHD, BPD, bipolar disorder, and impulsive decisions, right? And let me talk a little bit about myself and from my perspective, right? So as somebody, as an individual who has ADHD myself, when I'm talking to somebody who tells me that, hey, I have borderline personality disorder, or I have bipolar or ADHD, right? Or me, let's say I'm talking to like a new patient, right? I'm not able to connect with somebody who has borderline or bipolar because I don't have that, right? So I take my own experiences and I take what I've learned in school, right? And my past clinical experiences, right? I take all these things together and I combine it, right? To help me understand my patient, to figure out how I can put myself in the best possible position to help them out, right? And one thing that I can relate to, is impulsivity, right? And the impulsive nature of me and how I operate my businesses and handle my affairs, right? I feel like I can connect with a patient on that level, right? And of course, there's other conditions so many conditions where you might be impulsive, right? ADHD, bipolar, BPD, just to name a few. You could be depressed, and maybe the way your depression presents, you may make some impulsive decisions when you have energy, right? You might have schizophrenia, schizoaffective, and you might be. So the impulsivity is not just limited to these mental health conditions that we're talking about, right? But I feel like, and maybe people who don't have a confirmed mental health diagnosis might still struggle with impulsivity. So I think it's a very important thing to talk about, because a lot of times, the impulsivity can be good, right? And I think I've seen this a lot with my patients who have had like bipolar, specifically bipolar 2. Sometimes the hypomania and impulsivity can lead to a lot of good things, right? A lot of good business deals, a lot of amazing successes, right? But we have to make sure that there's some type of safeguard in place to make sure that if somebody's manic, that things are controlled. So we're going to talk about impulsivity today, and I'm excited to get into it. And I see people saying, what can we do to stop shop? April, we're going to get into that, right? But before we get into how do I stop losing so much money, how do I stop doing X, Y, and Z, we need to break it down, right? So we're going to break it down and we're going to get into it. Somebody's saying impulsive cleaning isn't the worst. It could be helpful, right? It could be helpful if you're impulsively cleaning your house, and let's say you want to start your work the next day and you wake up to a clean house. That's helpful. if you stay up till 3 a.m. impulsively cleaning your house, right, because you're manic, that might hurt you the next day, right? So it depends, right? Let me read through some of the comments before we get into what I gotta say. And Julie said, impulsive decisions after depression. Yes. So it's important to know that the impulsivity can come. It doesn't have to be like these main conditions that we think of, right? Naya says, here for my daughter. Hey, here for my daughter. Naya, what's going on? How you doing? Um, I cleaned my house yesterday. While Hannah, I think if you're watching right now and you're able to watch and do things as you're, going about your day, if you watch and you clean while watching me, I'm happy to be your ADHD or bi double, or I'm happy to be your bi double, right? It doesn't have to be ADHD, but I'm happy to be your accountability partner as you get things done. And Kayla, Kayla says, I connect with people that make bad decisions. Oh boy, Kayla. Let's get into it. Asking your loved ones to take your cards when you are in a mag state. Okay, wow. So look, Danielle, it's as if you're reading my mind and you're working faster than I can, get to the solution, right? Or possible solutions. But Danielle, if you understand, so look, all right, let's use this as an example, right? If you can understand when you're getting manic, right? And you can like kind of catch yourself and understand, oh wow, I feel like I'm getting a little manic, right? And then you take your wallet and you give your credit cards to your family members and friends and say, hey, I'm kind of shaky right now. Give me some time. Let me get some sleep. Let me get some nutrition. Let me, if meds are needed, let me get back on my meds or whatever the case may be. But let me organize myself and then I'll get back right. And then I can get my cards and I can do my thing. Doing that, having that type of, foresight, can save you tons of money. And I think this is a really good strategy. So we're jumping the gun a little bit, Danielle, but thank you so much for, this is perfect. Like, you're reading my mind. We must have telepathy. I mean, we can't be twins. You're white, but we can be, twins in another world, right? In the metaverse, right? But I want to give you the first love of the show because I really like this suggestion right here. So I got to give you the first love of the show. Shout out to Daniel Williams. I love that idea. I really, really love that idea. And someone says, what cards are we talking about? I was assuming she was talking about credit cards. That was my assumption. I could be wrong, right? And John says, how do I know if I'm manic? John, I have been making a lot of content about mania and bipolar disorder, but I think that I'm not doing. I think that I could make some more. Make a note to myself. Mania, because I was talking with my assistant, and I realized that I didn't put out some videos I wanted to put out. So I'll put those videos out, and I'll educate you about that. But for today, I want to talk about the impulsive decisions that we make as it pertains to our mental health, right? And when you make an impulsive decision, regardless of whatever it is, you have to ask yourself, if you have the time afterwards, if you can do a debriefing and ask yourself, was this decision helpful? Did it help me out? Did it hurt me? If it hurt me, what was the cost? If the cost was steep, am I willing to do this again? If you paid a price that was so like grand, sometimes you're like, all right, this would be the last time that I ever do this, right? This would be the last time I blow, $5,000 in a weekend. I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out there, right? And you can tell yourself, hey, I feel like I might not have sufficient control over myself to do certain things. So that's when you can get the help of people around you. And as you all already know, the goal of my content is to educate, to entertain, make y'all laugh, have a good time. But I want to tie it back around and let you all know that if you do need help, you can go to the different people in your area, the therapists, the counselors, the psychiatrists, the family members and the friends, and they can help to equip you with the things that you need to be back on the right track, right? So let me talk about myself personally, right? So I'm speaking on behalf of Team ADHD, right? We're talking about impulsive decisions. So for me, the majority of my decisions that I make that I would classify as impulsive, I would still say that they're kind of thought out, not all the way thought out, but kind of thought out, right? So let's backtrack to September, no, November 2020, right? So November 2020, I was, working in Williamsburg, Virginia, doing forensic psychiatry, loving my job, but I had reached a point where I was kind of getting burnt out. I was making content full time and I was working full time, and I had been thinking about moving to California, right? When you move, moving is a big life event, right? So when you move, you need to do certain things, you know, in order to save yourself a lot of money, to save yourself a lot of heartache, to save yourself a lot of trouble. So I had been thinking about moving to California for probably like 5 to 6 months, right? But I did not do all the things I needed to do in order to prepare myself for that move, right? So for me, I'm not the most organized. So that's why I have assistants, organizers, people that can help put me in a position to where I can win, right? But one thing that I messed up at is while I was thinking about moving to California to do social media full time, in the middle of that move, I got sidetracked a little bit, right? Maybe it's ADHD, maybe it's, I don't know, right? But I made the impulsive decision to jump from one apartment, right, to another apartment, and I signed a year-long lease knowing that I may not stay in Virginia for the year, right? And and you all know that when you leave one apartment to go to another apartment, right? You break a lease, and there's a penalty for that, right? So I want to say I'll just use myself, and I don't like talking about money, but let me throw the numbers out there just so you all can see, right? So I think I paid maybe $1,000 to break the first lease. Cool. These things happen, right? I don't like losing. I don't like losing $20, but I'm like, all right, I want to get a new apartment. So I got a new apartment. I think I'm sitting pretty. I think I'm doing good, right? And then as I'm thinking about my content and I'm gaining the confidence to think about a move to Los Angeles, 4 months later, I decide, all right, now's the time. I need to move to LA. I need to capitalize on this social media growth, and I need to use the internet to educate people about these topics, right? Mental health, ADHD, borderline, bipolar. Like, I read the comments that you all will be leaving. Like somebody who asked, "What's the difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2?" Right? This is something that I would explain to my patients. But by doing social media, I'm like, okay, I can make a funny video, or I can make a video where I'm dancing, and I can have bipolar 1 here and then bipolar 2 here, and then explain these things, right? So as I got better with that, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take the leap. And I said, I'm going to move from Virginia to California, right? And when I made a decision, the thing with me is when I make a decision, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. So I made a decision and I said, I'm going to do it. And I did not look at the financials. And that's where the impulsivity hurts you, right? Because I didn't look at the financials. And I thought, for some reason, I thought I could get out of the lease. I thought I could, I don't know, maybe this might be a Kojo thing, but I thought that I could go into the office and I could smile at the lady. And I wasn't going to try and flirt her or anything, but I was going to try and charm my way out of the fee, right? Or find some type of way to get out of it. But I was so convinced that I was going to get out of it. And that was not the case, right? And I thought about subleasing my apartment. And either way, long story short, it didn't work. I did move to California. We moved from Virginia to California. I continued to post my content. It was effective. I gained millions of followers, but I could not get out of this lease. At the end of the day, I ended up having to pay like maybe $4,000 to finally like just end the lease, right? And it pissed me off, right? It pissed me off. I'm still pissed today because right now I have a couple of different projects I'm thinking of. I'm like, ooh, I wish I had that money so I could put it towards this project, or I wish I had that money so I could put it towards that project. But when you don't think things all the way through, there's a cost that comes to it, right? So I had to lose the money. And for me, I have not broken the lease like that ever since, because I thought to myself, I'm like, all right, I made that mistake, and the pain of losing that money will prevent me from doing such a similar thing again, right? And probably in 5 years, I'll still be mad about it. I don't care how much money I get. I hope God continues to bless me, but I could be Bill Gates. I'm gonna sit there and be like, man, that time I lost $5,000 in 2020, 2021. But that served as a model. So now I'm like, that hurt me. I don't want to experience the type of hurt again. So now I do things like I call family members before I make a big decision, right? I'll talk to the people who are in that location. How is California like? Is it expensive, right? Right now, gas is almost $7 out here. I'm not gonna get into the whole gas controversy, right? But we know it's expensive to live in California, right? So you have to prepare yourself for these things, and if you know that you're impulsive, there's nothing wrong with being impulsive. If you have ADHD or borderline or bipolar or whatever the case may be, if you're impulsive, you just need to know who to have on your side to help you out, right? So let's shift gears to another example, right? Let's say, because with impulsivity, right, you have to ask how is it hurting you, right? And there was a study that I posted. I'm not sure if I posted here on Facebook, but I talked about it on TikTok about how when you treat somebody who has ADHD, right, for teenagers, when you treat them with the medications, right, it helps to cut back on the risk of car accidents, sexually transmitted infections, right, and substance use disorders, right. So if, let's say, ADHD here, right, if you have it and you don't know what's going on and you're impulsive, let's use the idea of the notion of sex, right? It's a great concept. So you're online, not online. I know everybody's doing online school right now, but let's just say the pandemic wasn't a thing, right? But you're going to school in person. You're a teenager. You're 17 years old. You're having the time of your life, right? And let's say you have ADHD and you don't know it, right? And you're impulsive, right? Let's say that you're impulsive and you meet somebody and you're attracted to them, and without thinking about like the steps that go into before having sex, you're like, oh, boom, we're just gonna have sex, right? And if there's, I don't want to make that seem like it's a bad thing, but if you're about to do the Mickey Ficky with somebody, right? You get to know them, blah blah blah. You think about try to use protection, or at least you think about these things, right? But if you tend to be impulsive and you're not giving yourself time and space to think, and you're just going boom, 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 the chance of a sexually transmitted infection, right? And then that's the consequence of the impulsivity that we don't want, right? Losing money, potential sexually transmitted infections, car accidents, right? So we have to figure out what things do we need to prevent the impulsivity, and are there any aspects of the impulsivity that can be helpful to you, so we might be able to extract the good thing out of it, right? Because from what I've seen in my experience, if you're impulsive, at times you're overconfident, right? And we know that lack of confidence, can be an issue. So you want people to be confident, but then there is such a thing as potentially being overconfident to the point where you take, consistent risk after risk, and it hurts you. So it's just about finding that balance, right? We gotta find that balance. So this is the key right there. And let me get into you all's content because I want to know how I can provide you all value. But let me definitely get into that, right? Maggie says, yes, impulsively getting into relationships can be right. This is another thing that can be damaging, right? So here you might not be losing any money, right? And you may not even have anybody getting a sexually transmitted infection, right? But you may jump into this relationship because you met them, and then after 3 months, after 3 weeks, they were your favorite person of all time. You hang out with them all the time, and maybe you're like, all right, we're gonna spend the rest of our lives together, and you combine bank accounts and all this stuff, and before you know it, it hits you. You're like, I don't even like this person. I think they're cool, but I don't even like them. But you've already put so much into it, and then you're gonna have that pain on the back end, right? So that's something that is important to be mindful of, right? Chrissy says, Mickey Picky, what's going on? Azura says, what about impulse moving across the country to stay with a friend? The original plan was honestly much darker, but they made me promise to see them before I leave, and then gradually convinced me to continue my job and life search there with their help. So look, once again, like I said, I moved across the country. There's nothing wrong with moving across the country, right? And if you feel like it's rather quick, you can talk to other people and get their opinions and see how feasible can I make this move, right? If you, let's say you're, multi-millionaire, right? And you can like click a button and somebody can move your stuff in a week, and then yeah, maybe you have the resources to do that. But if you're gonna move where like you have to, get somebody and you get the pods, and it takes all that much work. You may want to kind of plan it out, right? So it depends on where you're at. But if there's at least a little bit of planning in there, it might not be a bad thing, Azura, right? Let me see what people are saying. Sienna, yeah, our most life changing and eye opening. Yeah, from pain. Sometimes pain has to be a catalyst for you to learn how to do things, right? So for me, I don't like losing money. I just hate it. Like that will whip me into shape faster than anything, right? And losing money is fine. Like the money will go, money will come in. But losing the money will make you think, all right, okay, I don't want to go through that type of situation again, right? Or at least not let it be my direct fault. So I'm gonna plan things better, and I might still lose money. If I lose money, I'm not afraid of losing it, but I don't want to lose it because like there was something that I clearly could have done, and I just didn't get that done, right? So I definitely like that. Let me see, forever. um, Someone's saying bipolar one. Let me see what Phoebe's saying. I'm bipolar one. It's hard to learn lessons when you're manic. By the time you see it, you're headed the other direction, which then feeds into the things you've done wrong. Meds help big time. Stress can start that roller coaster if it causes you to skip meds. I've moved when manic from one state to another. Worst experience ever. I damaged and lost friendships. Almost got sued and lost much of my stuff. Yep, I don't listen to anyone when I'm manic. So Phoebe, first of all, thank you for sharing your experience. Um, that was eye opening, and I'm sure there's maybe a couple of people who have experienced a similar thing. Let me leave that comment up here for a second, so people who are jumping into the live stream can see what's going on, right? So this is one thing that I will say kind of separates bipolar disorder from ADHD and borderline and whatever else I said on there, right? Or depression, right? But here's the thing with bipolar disorder: when you could be in a depressive episode, right, and still make impulsive decisions, right? But at least in my personal experience, right, I've seen with bipolar disorder, when you're in that manic state, it's like a sustained period of time, right, where your mood is elevated, your confidence is at an all-time high, you're not sleeping like you normally would, your speech is super rapid, it's hard to interrupt you. Like it's boom, 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 boom. No time to breathe, none whatsoever. A lot of it's not always like that, but it can be like that. So in a manic state, it tends to be a little different from, in my experience, from what I've seen, from the impulsivity with somebody who has ADHD or maybe a borderline, right? Those impulsive decisions seem to be a little bit more transient. Like, oh, I went on Amazon and I saw a blender for $85, and this blender is going to change the game. So I'm going to buy this blender, and then I'm going to buy all these kitchen supplies because I'm going to become a chef, right. And then maybe you spend $200 worth on all these accessories. Let's say this is an ADHD type of impulsivity, right? You spend all this money on these accessories, and then the next week, because of your ADHD, you have a new interest, and you hyper focus on the next thing, and you're like, I don't want to be in the kitchen anymore. I don't want to be a chef. I'm going to focus on fishing. That's my new interest, right? Whereas when you're in a manic episode, sometimes the mania is kind of like you're running 100 miles an hour towards a certain direction, and while you're in that manic state, you're just kind of doing things impulsively without much preparation or thought. And in that situation, the key is to cut the mania as fast as possible. Like you want to halt that, right? Like if you're manic and you've let your family members and friends know what you look like when you're manic, and you have a good support system around you, right? When you start to do some of these things, you want family to kind of jump in and kind of halt that type of thing, right? Because if you were manic and you came to the psych hospital, what we would do for you is, the first thing that you normally see is if somebody's like super manic and they've been on the spending spree, making impulsive decisions, and they haven't been really putting much thought into their actions, right? Normally, when they come to the psych hospital, the first thing that I see them do is they normally sleep for a good 2 or 3 days, right? Of course, you start meds, but they'll sleep for like a good 2 or 3 days. So I remember back when I was working in Virginia doing the forensic psych work, if I get patient and they were bipolar one, most recent episode manic, like I would just sometimes talk to them, but if you can't get anything out, I'd wait like a good 2 or 3 days, and after that third day, for the most part, you go talk to them. You can have a clear and coherent conversation with them. You're laughing, they're joking. It's just it's good vibes, right? Just good vibes, and you're chilling. But you definitely want to make sure you can kind of stop that um, um, manic episode or kind of halt it. So there is a difference in the impulsivity between these different conditions, right? So there's so many like educational talking points, and as I'm thinking, I'm like, I have all these ideas that are going off in my head, like, oh, I can make this video or that video, but that's for me to clear my thoughts on the other end, right? And let me see. Any tips for mood swings that involve anger with negative outcomes, like yelling and swearing and hitting? Ooh, Kayla. Ooh, Kayla put me to the put me to the test. Tips for mood swings that involve anger with negative outcomes, like yelling and swearing and hitting. So, all right. So let's talk about interpersonal relationships, right? So if I'm Kayla, let's say it's me and Kayla, we're having a conversation and we're at Starbucks, right? What I require from people that I interact with, whether it's a friend or whether it's a romantic relationship. So this is the same for if Kayla was my boss, or if Kayla was my girlfriend, or if Kayla was my daughter, or if Kayla was a friend. Like, you would require a certain level of respect, right? So we're not going to yell at each other. We're not going to scream at each other. We're not going to throw things at each other. We're not going to put our hands on each other, right? And that goes both ways, man on woman, woman on man, or however it is, right? We're not going to put our hands on each other because that's just what we do. We don't believe in that out here, right? So mood swings, anger, and negative outcomes, right? So I think sometimes the best like cure is like prevention. Like, how do we prevent ourselves from getting to that point where because look, if you're yelling, you're swearing, and you're hitting, I mean, at that point, if you've come out swinging, at that point you've kind of lost control of yourself. So how do we prevent that from ever happening, right? What emotion precedes these actions? Because nobody wakes up in the morning, right? You don't wake up in the morning and you look around and you're like, all right, I'm gonna find somebody to yell and scream. That's not how it happens. But one thing leads to another. You woke up in the morning, you got some coffee, and then it's spilled on your white shirt, and this is your favorite shirt. So you were already pissed. You were driving to work, and then you got stuck in traffic, and your boss pissed you off, and then these things build up over time. So it's about how do you manage like all these small frustrations and like help yourself to where it doesn't get to that point. But if you ever catch yourself at the point where is reached this where we're yelling and swearing and hitting, if you can just kind of like pause, right? If you can just pause, sometimes like you'll kind of have awareness of what's going on, and then you might be like, whoa, like I don't want to yell right now. I don't want to swear right now. I don't want to hit anybody right now, right? And when it comes to domestic violence, don't want to get too deep into that, but obviously, I'll look to post some resources for anybody who's stuck in any type of situation, in regards to that. But this is a great question that you asked, Kayla. A really, really good question. Because if you can control yourself beforehand and it never gets to this point, I would say that would be better. Really good question. Really good question. I like that. I like that. Tammy says, I just ordered new pots and pans, even though I don't really need them. They were on sale. Ah, Mickey Ficky. Oh boy. Oh boy. So we have got to talk about um, uh, we've got to talk about the American, and some of y'all in Canada. I know some of y'all watch from South Africa and Europe. I appreciate y'all, but at least I'm in the States, right? So I can speak on us here in the States. We have to talk about the way things are broadcasted, right? Like these companies, they're geniuses at marketing, right? So they'll take, this from CVS, right? Advanced floss picks, right? Maybe say this is like $3, right? But now it's on sale for 50 cents. Well, actually, that's a bad example because 50 cents is like whatever. Let's say you have like a TV which is on sale for $179, right? $179.99, right? And this TV normally retails for $700, right? And you see, you're like, oh my goodness, this is a Black Friday sale. This TV is $180. I'm gonna buy 3 of them, right? Because you're thinking to yourself that you could buy one TV for 700-800 bucks back in the day, but today you can get 3 for the same price, right? My math is a little off. Don't be trying to calculate this, right? But you think to yourself, oh, I got a sale, so I'm going to buy this thing. But if you stop to think about your situation, maybe you didn't need a TV. Maybe you already had 3 TVs at the house, and now you're pulling up to the house with 3 more TVs, right? It was on sale, right? But you didn't need it. So sometimes things being on sale, that's a huge. It gets me every now and then. I have to be like, hold up, do I really want this thing, or am I bugging? Like, am I bugging? I don't think I need this thing. Elizabeth says marketing. Look, they have to make their money somehow, and whatever they're doing is very effective. Even $199.99 versus 200, like at least for me, like they tricked me, like because I'm like, ooh, this is $199 and this is $200. It's the same thing, right? But sometimes dropping it down 1 cent really, really, you know. Do you believe bipolar is hereditary or genetic? The studies indicate that it is hereditary, right? So one of the risk factors is like just having a first degree relative with bipolar disorder, you know. So if that's the case for you, it doesn't mean that you have it, but you know, when you go to see like a professional, that would be something that would be helpful to mention, right? Because if they're screening you for depression, they should also screen you for the mania and bipolar disorder. But that's for everybody, right? That's why I believe a good clinician, if you go in and you're depressed, they should always try and rule out bipolar, right? In my opinion. Let me say, they suck your yeah. Those the sales, the spending during Israel during mad phases. If it's on sale, I need it. Yeah, you know, mania and things being on sale could be a difficult conversation. It could be a really difficult conversation. Um, Emily said, "Yeah, this is good life advice in general. Sometimes you just gotta take a step back and breathe, Emily. You have to just breathe." And let me see what somebody's saying. Uh, my husband is always returning items I will buy and don't need. Yeah, and this is another simple thing, right? A lot of times, I'm Miss Campbell. I'm happy you mentioned this. A lot of times when you buy something, they'll give you a receipt, right? And what I do personally, I don't know if this will help you all, but when I buy things, if it's a large purchase, you know, for me, a large purchase is anything over $100. I like to be cheap. You know, one of my favorite characters of all time is the dad off of Everybody Hates Chris. He's so frugal, and like I just don't like spending money unless it's like for like business purposes. Then I'll spend, you know, to do what I gotta do, right? Or unless it brings me convenience. But in general, I'm like, I don't want to spend money, right? But if anything is over like $100, right, or it's a big purchase, normally what I will do is I'll ask for like an electronic receipt, because it's gonna be hard for me to keep up with the actual physical receipt. But if you send me an electronic receipt, I'll get it and I can just like flag it in case I need it. So that way, if I want to return something, I can return it, you know, because I'm not going to be stuck with, you know, I don't know, a toaster for $50. You know, I don't know. I would never buy a $50 toaster, but y'all get the point, right? Let me see. Someone said one word, Sarah Quill. Yeah, meds are helpful. That's why we have professionals who can prescribe these things, right? Let me see. Let me read this question real quick by Amber, and I'll get back to the ones at the bottom. Okay, but question: I have mixed bipolar, borderline, PTSD, anxiety, depression, all diagnosed a few years ago, except the personality disorder. So many times, the sort of symptoms mimic other things such as ADHD, autism, and other mental and emotional disorders. Besides hospital stay, can we ensure or get as close as possible to? All right, so Amber, with this right here, what I would say is, if you, or for anybody, if you ever feel like you've been misdiagnosed, there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion, right? I've had patients who've come in literally, and you know, like as I'm talking to them and gathering their information, they'll be talking and say, "Oh, my psychiatrist did this or put me on this medication." I'm like, "Oh, so are you already seeing somebody?" And then they're like, "Yeah, I want a second opinion." I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Okay, sure, we can do that. There's no shame in." And if I saw somebody and they thought that I misdiagnosed them and they wanted to get second opinion, I would encourage them to get second opinion, right? Because I could miss things too, right? You know, maybe it was an off day for me. I try not to have too many off days, but maybe it was an off day for me. Maybe my dog was peeing everywhere, and when I saw the patient, I wasn't focused. I don't know. I'm trying to think about why I would have an off day, but I'm not sure. Beverly, Beverly, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Alondra, why wouldn't you buy? I'm not a big toaster guy. I don't know. Like, how much is a how much is a toaster cost? Uh, Alexa, how much does a standard toaster cost?
A top result is Cuisinart Countdown 4-slice brushed stainless steel toaster. It's $77.24.
Wow, so $77 for toaster. All right, well, in that in that case, I take that back. Alondra, if that one was 77, this is 50. I'll go for the $50 toaster. I don't know. I don't, y'all can tell that I don't cook a lot because I don't know how much these things cost. Oh my goodness. $77 toaster. Okay. All right, sure. Sure. Did not know that. I had no idea. Had no idea. I wouldn't spend $50. Oh boy. Oh boy. Um, Mandy, a quick question, and I'll answer this one because a lot of people in my community have both, right? I so I I mean, this is what Facebook Live, over 300 people in here. I can't prescribe anything to anybody on here unless they're one of my patients watching, right? But I can't prescribe anything to you, and I can't suggest anything. The only thing I would say is when you have bipolar and ADHD, it can be difficult, right? Because sometimes with the ADHD meds that are stimulating, you might worry about that principal and manic episode. So you have to kind of weigh, the risks and benefits of each medication. A lot of times, like let's say when I was working at the psych hospital, if somebody came in and they had both, normally it'd be like the manic episode that brought them in the hospital, right? So we would prioritize the mania, or we'd prioritize the bipolar, stabilize them, make sure that they sleep, make sure that they're safe, that they're on meds, and then after the bipolar is like stable, then we would worry about the ADHD. So that's how it would work for us, or it worked for us back at the psych hospital. Um, uh, Toasters for $20. Where y'all find these toasters that cost only $20? Crystal, I don't know why. I asked, but like I said, that's what they said. $77 for a toaster. Really? Wow. Maybe everything just costs so much money nowadays. Family Dollar, 10, 15. So A Queen, that's my type of toaster right there, right? Like, I mean, if you can put the bread in the toaster and the toaster can put like the spread over it, like if the toaster comes with like peanut butter and jelly embedded within it, maybe I'll pay for it. But if it's just like, I don't know, I, I don't know, I don't know. Um, and yes, so look, we're gonna have a whole live on borderline. We're gonna have a whole live on borderline because we have to talk about it. And the current thinking is that for like mental health professionals like myself, that we don't like to take care of people who have borderline personality disorder. And in some ways, I will never lie to y'all here. That's kind of true for a great deal of mental health professionals. When they see borderline, they kind of are like, "Oh, I'm just telling you the truth." But I mean that not for me. That's my job, right? Like if you're a mechanic and you take your car to the mechanic, and then you have a flat tire, and they're like, you find another mechanic, right? So for a professional who enjoys their job and they're good at what they're doing, a borderline diagnosis shouldn't deter them from taking care of that person. But they have to have the right resources, right? Maybe like we're talking about impulsivity tonight. The impulsivity might put your relationship with that person, or if you have borderline, it can make it hard, because you're doing impulsive things without thinking, right? And also fear of abandonment. It gets, quite deep with borderline, but there is hope. That's the main takeaway point from that. $30 for a toaster. So these are the prices that I like. $30, $10 for a toaster. Yeah, and $15. $15. These are toasters I want. I don't want the ones that cost. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, like these toasters should not cost this much. And I'm not sure how we got on the topic of toasters, but I feel better knowing that you don't have to spend almost $100 to get a good toaster, right? Stainless steel. Um, what are these toasters doing? Uh, Elizabeth, please tell me how I can tell my significant other that saying to me every time I have a Mac episode, "What is wrong with you and why are you acting like this?" That really hurts my feelings. All right, so the way you wrote this here is how you would say it to your significant other, but you probably said it like that and you didn't get the response that you wanted, so you probably shut down. That's probably what happened. I think it's tough to, and I mean, I can make all the videos in the world, and hopefully that helps, but it's tough to explain things to somebody that you love if they didn't wrap their heads around that concept before they got with you, right? So if like the bipolar came like after y'all started dating, right? Or you knew about it after that, then if your spouse or partner didn't go into the relationship knowing this about you, it could be hard for them to wrap their heads around it and understand it. So, uh, of course, everybody needs time to understand certain things, but then at a minimum, you would want them to not make those hurtful comments. Like they don't have to understand it all the way, but you could at least be like, "Hey, like, please lay off of that comment." And I mean, that's a boundary, and then they should be able to fulfill that, right? We would hope. Nay, I got my water. At the 45-minute mark, we'll do the water break. So, Nay, I did not forget. I did not forget. I got the water. I got the water. Spent $40 on a retro microwave. I guess that's the question of the day. What's the most amount of money you would be willing to spend on a toaster? I have a number in my head. Uh, yeah, I got a number in my head, and I'll get that. But I need to know how much. What's the most that you all would spend on a toaster? I need to know that. People join this chat maybe could Nicole. That's just something that people are gonna have to get like used to, right? Anytime you join the chat, like you get to the 40-minute mark, conversation will drift a little bit, but we're still talking about impulsive decision makings with these mental health conditions. Oh, so Brianna says she would pay $70 for a microwave. Okay, okay. 40. Adrian would pay 40 for a toaster. Um, Chantel would pay 40 max. I like air fryer better. Alicia would pay $35 for a toaster. Amber decided to be extremely unique. It said $29. $40 for a toaster. Uh, oh wow. 100 Canadian dollars. 15. What does it do? Just a toaster, just a regular toaster. This I try to see somebody would spend my Amber said $29.99 a week. No more than 40, $80. So for me, the most I would spend $60 on a toaster. And I could be as impulsive as ever. I wouldn't spend more than $60 on a toaster. I mean, I think that would get the job done, right? I think that would get the job done. 70. There's all these different types of toasters. A press toaster, thrift store. I would start for the $5 toaster first before I go to these special edition toasters. I like what Yula is saying. It is completely in line with the discussion of impulsivity under the applies free. I'd rather eat bread. $10 at Walmart. Anita says, "You're doing the best you can. Stop beating yourself up. Tell your kids no when they don't deserve a toy. You can say those words and they will understand. They may not like it." Anita, you put that comment in randomly, but I gotta give you a love of the show because I do like what you said right there. And this comes in mind during the holiday season. I think the holiday season is one of the worst times to struggle with impulsivity. It really is one of the worst times to struggle with impulsivity. And after this, we'll get to the water break. But during the holiday season, you have like all these commercials going off, right? They're telling the kids about Santa, blah, 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 and some people may have multiple kids, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids, right? And the kids are seeing all these toys on TV and all these different devices, and they all cost hundreds of dollars, right? And all of us, we're trying to work within our budget and make sure we take care of business, right? Um, Getting kids gifts is cool, right? But we got this is a list of priorities, right? Not every time we can buy, our children the a PS5 and whatever new games are coming out, right? But during the holiday season, when these commercials are coming at you, the sales are coming at you, right? And you can have whatever mental health condition you have. But if you struggle with impulsivity, this might be a time where you may need more support, right, from your team, your supporting cast, your family members, your spouse, your coworkers, your loved ones, the people around you who know you and understand you. It might not be a bad idea if you think it would work for you to give them your credit card and say, hey, hold my credit card, right, and give it to me January 1st, right, or January 5th, so that way there's no New Year's sales I can get in on. If that works for you, that might be something that could work for you, right? Or you could be like me. I know my credit card numbers off the top of my head, right? Because I use them often. So like that wouldn't work for me. I would just like think of the number off the top of my head. I know the security pin at the back off the top of my head. I know the expiration date. But then you have to get a little bit more crafty or look for a different way to to curb that impulsivity. Cara loves the idea. So Cara, so this Christmas, think of it, when the sales, I think it's after Thanksgiving. That's when people start to really, or actually sometimes before Thanksgiving, sometimes mid-November, people are like, all right, we're getting ready for Christmas. But whenever you feel that urge, that um, a very dangerous urge, where you're like, if I don't spend this money on the kids, or if I don't spend this money on a spouse or whoever, I'm a bad parent, I'm a bad sister, a bad brother, bad friend. That's when it's like, all right, it might be time to sit back and be like, do I really have to do this? And I struggled with that initially because didn't have a lot growing up. And when my siblings came up, I wanted them to have the Christmas that I didn't have. So when I started working in the hospital, I would buy them the 2Ks and the Maddens and all the games. And then my siblings and I, we were grown, so we would provide for our younger siblings, and we would tell our parents, "Hey, we'll buy the gifts." But it got to a point where we're like, "Hey, we can't be spending thousands of dollars every year on gifts. Like this is ridiculous." So what we did is the very next Christmas, we just didn't do any gifts. Like we did like small gift cards, and we went to Dollar Tree, and we got like cheap gifts. And that relieved a lot of anxiety for me because I got caught up in the rat race. I'm like, I got to get this one and NBA 2K and Call of Duty. And then when I just laid off of it, I'm like, all right, I can breathe now. Like I don't have to worry about, and I'm already impulsive. I already, might go on a shopping spree and buy a $77 toaster, right? So it's good that we can keep that in mind, right? Toaster Tuesday. Adrian, I like that. Um, uh, and Tessa, this is me. By the way, everybody, now is your time to start preparing your water because we will be preparing for the water break soon. So go ahead and prepare your water so that when I call upon it, we know what to do, right? Tessa says, Tessaya, I didn't read that correctly, my bad. Please tell me someone else is a foodie and impose DoorDash or Uber Eater more than necessary. So Tessaya, one of these days, not today, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but one of these days, I'm gonna. Actually, I don't know if I want to do this because I'm a little scared to do this. But one of these days, I think I will ask my assistant to tally up how much money I've spent on DoorDash in the past 3 years. I will not publicly release that number, but I'll look at it myself and I'll just reflect. And yeah, because this is me right here. So this is not. I'm not proud of this, but I mean, I started cutting out processed food, so now there's not that many places on DoorDash that sell non-processed food. So that did help. But at the literally with this phone right here, I could press a couple of buttons, and I would have like a Chick-fil-A, number one with large fries, large lemonade, mac and cheese, the cookie, the milkshake. I could literally have that delivered to my house as I finish this live. And that's how convenient things have become. So we have to, we got to pause ourselves a little bit. We got to pause ourselves a little bit. Judy, how are you doing? Hope Judy's doing okay. I love how your videos go on tangents. How else? Yeah. Sydney, that's the benefit of having your own show. You can pretty much just do what you want, right? Who's getting hungry? Now I'm getting hungry. Stay hungry, but I don't want you all to impulsively go ahead and do the DoorDash spree. So Tessa, got it. The why threw me off. The why threw me off. But Tessa, gotcha. That makes sense. Uh, I like this right here. The microtransactions add up. Yep, they definitely do, Kelsey. And sometimes you just have to take a step back and ask yourself what needs to be done in the moment. All right. And let me see. Y'all know what time it is. Maggie, you know what time it is. It is time for the water break. And shout out to Nami though. I'm a big fan of what they do. And the meetings for family members and classes, that could be a great way of educating yourself. I think now the most hip way is like saying somebody a Facebook reel or IG reel or a TikTok. But they actually have classes where you can learn, right? But it's time for the water break, y'all. It is time for the water break. It's time for the water break. Let's get it. All right, guys. So go ahead and open your water or whatever beverage you're sipping on. If it's something else, you don't have to tell me, but whatever you're sipping on. Cheers. Chug. Yeah. Water with Sonic Ice. You have to turn water into like a fun thing. I literally had to do these types of things like off camera, and now I enjoy drinking water. All right. Cheers. Cheers, Kate. Drink water with lemon. Yeah, there's like water sweeteners or lemon or oh my gosh, $100 in breakfast the other day. Oh, Mickey Ficky. Drink the water. Cheers. Cheers, Sam. Cheers. And Sam, I appreciate that. Wow. Thank you so much. I'm happy I get to do this. But I mean, I'm really just a messenger, so I'll praise the God. Like I'm just pushing the message out here. I think I answered that question before. Let me see what Elizabeth is talking about. I just now joined in, and I'm glad you're streaming right now because there's a tornado warning. One touchdown. I need something to keep my mind off of it. I'm safe in the location. Elizabeth, I'm happy you're doing good. And I'll be hoping that hope everything goes well with where you're at, right? Let me see. One DoorDash is. All right, let me see this from Meg. I want to touch on this. What about impulsively in finding who you are and what to do with your life? What if you like many things and not so much into one thing? I'm not made of money to figure out I don't like a career path by changing the direction over and over. It's helpless after you adopt a fear of not finishing anything due to loss of interest and passion. So Meg, believe it or not, I kind of relate to this, right? And you all might not agree because you're like, oh, you have all these followers, like you clearly have your thing down. And I, to some degree, I think I do, right? But at the same time, I have a lot of different passions, things that I want to explore. And as long as I'm pursuing a passion, I'm able to get on here and do it, right? So clearly I like talking, right? If I can come out here and consistently go live for y'all, like nobody is like, forcing me every day to come and do this. Like I like this, so I can do this, right? So for myself, maybe other careers that involve talking or things that or hosting, like I like that type of thing, right? And when I do things, Meg, I actually try my best to do something and complete the thing, right? But it's hard to complete big things. So if you can break down to small things, complete that small thing, boom, you're done with it, right? Because depending on what that thing is, you might wake up or next week you no longer have that desire, right? Maybe your fascination with a certain thing during a certain week wasn't like an impulsive one-off, right? Like this week we're all about this, and next week we don't care, right? Or this week we love Billie Eilish, and we want to hear all Billie Eilish songs, nothing else but Billie Eilish. And the next week, I want to listen to Playboy Cardi or something. Or next week, I want to listen to music. I want to do art, right? So sometimes when you have a lot of passions, it's good to do those things, right? But sometimes you might want to have like a main thing that can kind of either help you bring an income or something that's your purpose, right? At that time, or like a 9 to 5, something that keeps you busy and explore with certain things over time. But try and start small, right? And even if you have that impulsive itch, sometimes like let's say you have an impulsive desire to buy something, right? And you tell yourself, I'm just gonna buy something. Like I don't care what it is, I have to buy something. Or you feel like I want to have a shopping spree. Like I feel like going to any store, standing in line for 20 minutes or whatever. But I want to go around, I want to get a shopping cart and I want to dump things in there and I want to buy stuff for my house because I want to have a shopping spree. Sometimes, right, if you just have that desire, you know, regardless of what condition is leading to depression, ADHD, bipolar, whatever, it might not be a bad idea to go to a thrift shop, right? Or somewhere where you can get things for less than $1 or the dollar store, right? Go to the dollar store and buy some antiques or whatever, right? You may grab 37 items, right? Maybe because you were impulsive, but now you're paying $37, right? Or tax. So you're paying like $45 for all these items, right? As opposed to going to Target, right? If you're feeling impulsive, Target's nothing wrong with Target. I don't want to get into like maybe I'll work with Target one day, so I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. But you all get the point, right? If you're going, if you feel like you're going to be spending a lot of, if you just feel like buying things, maybe go somewhere where you won't be as penalized, right? So you may come home with 37 different things, right? Like you got a little marker here, you got something for the living room, something for the kitchen, things to decorate the house, but you end up spending like $45. So you got a lot of stuff, right? You got a lot of bang for your buck. If you're feeling impulsive like that, that might not be the time to go to one of these stores where one item might be $400, right? If that makes sense, right? And y'all get the point. Target's cool. I like branding, but if I'm having an itch to buy a whole lot of things, I might not go to Target that day because I love Target so much. I'll just start buying everything, and then I'll get upset when you know I'm looking at the total and I'm like, I bought 2 cheeseburgers. How did we get to this amount right here, right? 2 cheeseburgers, like there's no reason why it should be that expensive. Yeah, shout out to Dollar Tree. Shout out to them. Um, Putting items, but clear and nothing against Amazon, but a lot of these companies, when you put something in the shopping cart and you plan to buy it later, right? Or let's say you put it in the shopping cart and log out. If that curbs your impulsive desire, Claire, I'm happy you found that, right? And if y'all are watching and you can follow Claire's method and it works, go ahead and do it. I love it. But I will say that a lot of, not just Amazon, but a lot of websites, if you put something in the shopping cart and you leave, and anybody here who does marketing can back me up on this. Sometimes you might get an email saying, "Hey, Claire, did you mean to buy this toaster for $77? We saw that you left it in the shopping cart. Do you still want it?" And then you'll click it and be like, do I want this toaster? And then when you click it and you scroll to the bottom, it will say items that you may like if you're interested in this. And you see all these other appliances that you might like because you're interested in the toaster. And before you know it, you spent so much money. So for me personally, this thing wouldn't work. But Claire, I do love this idea because it's a tangible idea and somebody might do this and it'll work for them. So I'll actually give you a love of the show because it's a simple thing you can do. Go on Amazon, put it in there, log out, and then you feel better. So I actually like the idea. I know it's not like like a Kojo thing, but I do love the idea. So love the show for you. Definitely a love of the show for you. And Claire says, I delete them the next day. All right, okay. So I should let you finish. I like that then. I should let you finish. I really like that. And Sherry says, my Amazon basket Sherry, I'm curious. What do you have in your Amazon basket list? You know, you can expose yourself if you're feeling confident to do that. Yeah, Sarah, marketing is fascinating. Like, and sometimes I have to actually tell myself like people go to school to learn how to do this, right? So it's not somebody who just woke like this is a science, and they're very good at their jobs, right? But marketing is important, and branding is important. I support marketing. I support branding. I mean, I have my own brand, so I support this stuff, you know. But I'm talking about when we're feeling impulsive, what things do we have to be mindful of, right? But they keep messaging you about it. And on my baskets, I have shoes and clothing. All right. Uh, TikTok made me buy it as a real thing for me. Yeah, when things are like on a short form video, whether it's TikTok or somewhere else, it does look really attractive, right? Um, uh, so I think I spoke of this a little bit, but let me bring it back up again. Can you touch on ways that being impulsive can be good? I know in my life at least it hasn't been bad. So Sienna, once again, I mean I'll use myself, right? Like I made the impulsive decision to get up and move to Los Angeles, even though I thought about it, but I lost 4 grand because I didn't I should not have moved out that like I did not get the apartment situation straightened out. And then I probably lost more than $4,000 because I I bought new furniture, right? I bought new furniture for my apartment in Virginia, and I moved to California. And then when I get to California, I actually the first place I rented out was a place that was fully furnished, and I'm sitting there like, really? And then I moved so fast, like I acted as if Virginia was like gonna be like the way I moved. It was as if the whole state of Virginia was going to be shut down and they would be forced to leave the U.S. Like I moved like I was in a hurry. I don't know why, but I said I got to go to California. I got to go. So I lost the money breaking the lease, and I lost more money because the things that I had bought, I asked my housekeeper to try and sell them. I said, "Can you sell them and can we split the money so that way I can get some money back?" She wasn't able to sell it, and my housekeeper is really good at selling things. So I lost all that furniture. I lost the money for breaking the lease. But Sienna, for me to leave Virginia at that time, I came to California at a good time. I capitalized. The relationships that I made here in California have changed my life, right? Like being here, having like over 300,000 followers on Facebook, you know, seemingly came out of nowhere. I quadrupled my followers in California, right? I went from like 500,000 to like 2.5. So like my everything exploded once I got here, right? So the impulsive decision to leave was helpful, right? Because it gave me the confidence to get up and to chase my dream. So I'm proud of that, right? And a lot of times, for other people, if you have an impulsive desire to do something or take a job or to go and do public speaking, there's ways that the impulsivity can help you out. So it's not always a bad thing, right? So it can be helpful, but when it's helpful, it's helpful. Then you're happy, you're celebrating, you're happy. But when it's hurtful, you're losing money. Some people are losing friendships, right? Like losing money sucks, but like let the money go. Like I don't want to lose friendships with people that I love. I don't want to lose friendships with family. Like that would be hurtful. That's where you know like you have that regret. And sometimes if you regret things and you live in the past with that regret, if you stay on that thought for too long, it kind of puts you on like the fast track to depression, right? It doesn't mean you'll automatically be depressed, but like sometimes you might be setting yourself up for the okey doke, right? So just making sure that like what that impulsive decision is doing for you is important, right? And I talked a little bit about like a manic episode, the impulsivity within a manic episode. It's a little different from the impulsivity in borderline or ADHD or any other condition, because more times than not, like if it's hypomania, it's at least you're mad for 4 days, right? If it's a full blown manic episode, like the textbook says, 7 days, right? You have to be mad for a week, or if you land in the psych hospital before that, they just give you the bipolar 1 diagnosis, right, to protect you, right? So if you're mad for that long, let's say you're mad for a week, the decisions that you're making, you might be kind of like spiraling out of control. So at that point, it's more so like safety. Like, we're not worried about like a Target shopping spree. Like spend the money, sure, but like we want to make sure that you're safe. We want to make sure that you're not driving your car too fast on the highway. It becomes a safety concern, in my opinion, at that point, right? Um, let me see. Um, that's great. Yeah, Misty. Yeah, I'm happy I took the leap. I'm happy. I came, and of course, sometimes you can be upset about the. Like every now and then I think about it, but it's more so like I'd rather lose that money so that I can organize myself and prepare for better, right? So now that I know, and I didn't know back then, but now I know, like I really know because like you have to pay a price. So now I'm like, all right, I tell my assistant, I'm thinking about doing this. Please check this out for me. Make sure that I'm not gonna waste my time, my money, my efforts. So once you can pick up on your own patterns, you can really put yourself in the best possible position to succeed, right? All right. Mickey Ficky. Man, so it's been a good live. I see some people going back and forth in the comments. Oh, so I don't know what's going on in the comment section. If somebody's saying something about me, I mean that's fine. I mean, I get negative comments a lot, right? But if you're saying something bad about somebody else, please don't do that, right? Because they just hop in the live to like have a good time and learn, and just this vibe, right? But I mean, people say stuff all the time, but please don't attack anybody else in the comments. Like we're having a good time out here. My arm fell off. We're having a good time. We're just chilling, right? So this is a safe space for everybody to just be who they want to be. But this has been a great live. And Shelby, even if you missed the live, keep in mind y'all can go back and then watch the live on the back end. Cindy, so you're gonna give me a love of the show. Yay! Cindy, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's the first time that I've received the love of the show, so I appreciate that, Cindy. Go ahead and take a picture and smile. It looks fake, but I'm taking a picture of my records. I got a love of the show today, so thank you so much, Cindy. I appreciate that. Once again with the comment about leaving stuff of other people, like that's just to make sure that I don't want anybody to come on here and see a negative comment and it shuts them down. And they're like, oh, I'll never come back on here again, right? So that's why I'm like, if it's about me, like, hey, it is what it is, right? But hopefully it's not about somebody else, right? That's what Kojo means. That's a name for a male born on Monday. You know it, Meg. Thank you so much. So I gotta get off, and I need to head to. Actually, I got a meeting, and then I head to the gym. All right, you all take care. I love y'all, and I will see y'all tomorrow Wednesday. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.